This has been asked of me before. There are two reasons for this. One, I would make a shitty soldier. Basically, I would be completely useless as a soldier because I'm 50 years old. I have undersized lungs. I have a damaged spine. I have damaged hip joints. I have a bunch of other health problems. So, as a soldier, I would be worthless. It is a citizen journalist covering the events in Ukraine. I at least have some use. Number two, my parents live in Ukraine. They live in Zaporizhia. This is southern Ukraine, kind of closer to the southeast of Ukraine. They're 50 kilometers from the front line that is dividing the Zaporizhia region between the Russian-occupied territory and Ukrainian territory. I am the only person from my family living outside of Ukraine. As such, I am the only person in my family who can financially support my family during this time. And I'm also the only connection they have outside of Ukraine that might make it possible to get them out of there. Since I'm not wealthy, since I'm not Elon Musk, I don't have my own security detail, my personal airplane, my personal helicopter, and so on and so forth. So I can't just like swoop in there and get them out. But that is the end I'm working toward if safety corridors become available. And I plan to finance getting my parents out of there before they get killed. I don't know if I will manage that. For the last 3 years, I wake up every fucking morning knowing that my parents might be already dead. Because they're getting bombed every fucking day. But I hope that answers your question as to why I am not there, why I am still here. And fuck you. Moving right along, I want to start with Marco Rubio since he is our Secretary of State. And what I find interesting about this is that Rubio used to be vehemently against Russia. If you go back and look at his statements on this war over the last 3 years, you will see he was so pro-Ukraine. Well, he had kissed the ring, drank the Kool-Aid, and bought Russian propaganda because this whole thing that the war in Ukraine is a proxy war by the United States is straight out of Putin's playbook. So, what we do about this is unclear. I mean, the dude is there. He's going to start spewing his poison and so on and so forth. But again, this just goes to show that the U.S. is not a reliable ally. This is also on the Kiev Independent website, and I suggest you read it. This is very interesting. We talked about the game of drones kind of a lot. And so there is now a drone coalition, which includes Ukraine and its allies, trying to boost the drone budget specifically, since the drones have been playing such an important role in this war. So the initiative is a collaboration between the UK and Latvia, and we talked about Latvia a lot. What they're focusing on is solely on expanding Ukraine's arsenal of unmanned aerial vehicles. Now, what I'm hoping for is that they will also expand that budget to cover unmanned seagoing vehicles, because we now have those too. And they have been used very successfully in the Black Sea. So I'm hoping to see some great things come out of this. There is another meeting going ahead in Brussels. So what's going on there? There's the usual just diplomatic pleasantries, but again, it's also an illustration in taking sides. And those who are participating are basically working actively to boost Ukraine's defenses after the hole left by the US. Meanwhile, just to remind you, this is going on. There was another attack on Kryvyi Rih, and it hit the hotel where humanitarian aid workers have been staying. So that's the same hotel that was targeted 5 months ago. Fortunately, the hotel was evacuated thanks to Ukraine's now very advanced early warning system. The proposal being discussed at the Brussels summit is dealing both with what is going on in Ukraine right now and with Europe's future. Because it's not just about Ukraine, it is also expanding Europe's military complex. It is also beefing up the military research, the weapons testing, weapons design, and so on and so forth. And this is where Ukraine will come in very useful, because they have already offered saying, hey, you know what, guys? We have been at this for a while. Let's sit down together, see what you got, and see if we can test it for you. Meanwhile, in Washington, this article is from The Guardian. Once again, there is time of taking sides. So I know a lot of people are going to say, well, what is the point? What is the point in resolutions and so on and so forth? The point is putting somebody on record. For example, we have a resolution in place that clarifies that Russia started the war in Ukraine, condemning Putin for the war crime, condemning Russia's kidnapping of 20,000 of Ukrainian children. That's 20,000 we know of. There's possibly more. Talking about support for Ukraine, and reiterating that basically hacking off a piece of another country is wrong. And the demand for Putin to pull away his troops. And again, everybody understands this is not going to cause anything. This is not going to actually cause Putin to pull away his troops. But it puts people on record in terms of who stands for war. For example, Republican Senator James Rich said that Putin does not have the ability to end the war. Yeah, he does. All he has to do is give an order to withdraw his troops. It's that simple. So I agree with Bernie. He started the war. He can totally end the war. Another Republican lawmaker, Roger Wicker, objected to a resolution affirming Ukraine's territorial sovereignty. And again, he is now on record saying that. Why is this important? Why is this particularly important to the United States? This is something that I have been reminding people about. Russia has been discussing taking Alaska back since about July of 2022, so some months after it invaded Ukraine. The last discussion that I know of, that I checked on, took place in January of 2025, this year, just a couple of months ago. So when you think this has nothing to do with you, look at the map. Look at the map. Look at Alaska. Russia wants it back. How would you feel if they crossed the Bering Strait and just walked in and decided this is ours? Because they're thinking about it. More to come.